All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. It's that time of the week, folks. My key games in the upcoming Saturday in the world of college football. Now, I want to start off in the ACC as you have the 14th ranked Syracuse Orange traveling to take on the 5th ranked Clemson Tigers. Now, first place in the Atlantic Division is basically on the line for this one, and we're going to find out tomorrow afternoon whether or not that the Orange are for real. This is just Syracuse's second road game of the year. Their first road game came against UConn, and obviously, UConn and Clemson are not on the same level as being college football teams. But for Syracuse to go on the road and get the upset win, quarterback Garrett Schrader is going to have to play a good game, and I think that the Orange are going to have to consistently move the chains with running back Sean Tucker as well as wide receiver Aronde Gatson. Now, this Syracuse defense, number 8 in the nation, but they're going to be tested in this game because you look at what DJU and company are consistently doing week in and week out. They're getting better and better. And I think running back Will Shipley is going to have a big time impact in this one. I think Syracuse has the ability to keep it close early, but too much Clemson, especially in the second half. And because of that, I'm going to take the Tigers at home by the score of 37-17. Now in the SEC, you're going to have the seventh ranked Rebels of Ole Miss traveling to Tiger Stadium to take on the LSU Tigers. Now this is a big time test for Ole Miss. A lot of their big games so far have been at home, but for Lane Kiffin and his team, this is a team that they have some big time expectations. But in order to get where you want to go, you got to win the tough games. And it's always tough to win a road conference game. Now, Jackson Dart at quarterback, he's been up and down at times for Ole Miss this year, but what is he going to give Lane Kiffin and company in this one? I expect the running game for Ole Miss to have an impact on this one with Zach Evans and Quinshawn Judkins. Wide receiver Jonathan Mingo knows how to play off of that game. But then on the flip side for LSU, you have a solid offense as well with quarterback Jaden Daniels and wide receiver Malik Neighbors. Now, for my money, LSU is a team, they're 5-2, and you cannot take this team lightly. I don't think Ole Miss does that. I think the key for LSU, though, is going to be to score touchdowns early, keep the crowd in the game, put the pressure on Ole Miss. It's going to be easier said than done, but at the end of the day, it's just too much Ole Miss, and I'm going to take the Rebs on the road on this one by the score of 38-27. Now, in the Pac-12, you're going to have the ninth-ranked UCLA Bruins traveling to take on the 10th ranked Oregon Ducks. And this is a showdown in the Pac 12 with playoff implications on the line as well, because you figure UCLA is undefeated. And of course, if they're able to run the table, more than likely they're going to be in the college football playoff. And for Oregon, after getting blown out to begin the year by Georgia, they have rebounded nicely. But if you're Oregon, you can't, like, there's no really wiggle room for you at this point. You got to keep it going. Now, for the Bruins, this is their first true road test. They've only had one road game prior to this all year, a blowout win at Colorado. Obviously, Colorado and Oregon are not on the same level right now. So let's see how UCLA fares against this Oregon club. Now, for Chip Kelly and company, we know what DTR can do at quarterback. And this guy's a bad man running the football. He can also pass it. And I expect him, as well as running back Zach Charbonnet, to have a big time impact if the Bruins are going to get the road upset tomorrow. But on the flip side, for Oregon, you look at Bo Nix at quarterback, the Auburn transfer, as well as running back Bucky Irving. And I think just as it's important for UCLA to go out there and get some early scores and take the crowd out of there, get out of the game in Eugene, I think it's also going to be important for Oregon to score early and keep the crowd in the game. I think Oregon takes care of their business, and I'm going to take the Ducks at home by the score of 37-27. Now, in the Big 12, you're going to have the 20th ranked Texas Longhorns traveling to Stillwater to take on the 11th ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys. And these are two teams Each team has one loss within the Big 12, but they're trying to stay near the top in regards to making a run at getting to the Big 12 championship game. Now, for Texas, they got Quinn Ewers back at quarterback. They're playing better. They escaped last week against a good Iowa State team in spite of their record. But for me, the formula still is the same for the Longhorns. Give the football to Bajon Robinson and get out of his way. Now, you're going to see some solid linebacker play in this contest, in my opinion. You got Jalen Ford for Texas, and then you got Mason Cobb for Oklahoma State. Now, for Spencer Sanders and company, they scored some points last week, but the thing is, they just fell short on the road in Fort Worth against TCU. So you got two good clubs here that want to get to Arlington for the Big 12 championship game. And for me, the biggest thing is I just simply don't see Oklahoma State losing 2 games in a row. I know that Texas is favored in this one, but I'm going to take the Cowboys at home by the score of 30-27. Now, back in the SEC tomorrow night, you're going to have the 24th ranked Mississippi State Bulldogs making that trek to Tuscaloosa to take on the 6th ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, Alabama comes into this game favored by 3 touchdowns. And of course, the $1 million question is going to be, how will the Crimson Tide bounce back after suffering that heartbreaking loss on the road last week in Knoxville against the Volunteers? Now, we know Nick Saban definitely had the attention of his team throughout the week. But for me, we know that Alabama can score. And Bryce Young returned last week showing no ill effects from that shoulder injury. And but for me, I think it really comes down to this Alabama defense. They were shredded last week, and they've been shredded at times this year, and they're really not playing up to the billing. Now, Alabama defensively is going to have their work cut out for them in slowing down this Mississippi State offense with quarterback Will Rogers as well as running back Dylan Johnson. For me, I know that Alabama's a big favorite, and I think at the end of the day, Alabama's going to win this game, but they're going to have to work for it because this Mississippi State team is far from being a pushover. I'm going to take the tie, but I'm going to take the unders. I'm going to take Alabama by the score of 37-27. And finally, finishing up in the Big 12, you're going to have the 17th ranked Wildcats of K State traveling to Fort Worth to take on the 8th ranked TCU Horned Frogs. These are the last 2 undefeated teams remaining within the Big 12 conference. TCU is still undefeated overall. Excuse me, while K State has 1 loss to their credit. But you think about the Wildcats with that running game with Adrian Martinez and Deuce Vaughn, they're going to put some pressure on this TCU defense. I also look at TCU quarterback Max Duggan. New system this year under head coach Sonny Dykes. He has really transitioned to that very smoothly. And of course, as Duggan goes, so does the fortunes of this TCU offense. Also, keep an eye on running back Kendre Miller. We talk about the running game from TCU, pardon me, from K State, but TCU can bring it as well. And I definitely have an eye on wide receiver Quentin Johnson for the Horned Frogs. TCU got the big win at home last week against Oklahoma State, and I don't see the Horned Frogs slowing down here as I'm going to take them to hold off Kansas State tomorrow night by the score of 38-30. So, folks, those are my key games for this upcoming Saturday in the world of college football. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.